I know. Stop. Just wait. I know you're impatient. Just hang on. Hey guys, welcome. Can everybody hear me okay? Colt is impatiently waiting, like super impatient. Hey, wait. Stop. Everybody hear me good? Yes? Good, good. How are you all doing? I'm doing good. Got a late start this morning because of bad seizure yesterday. But I am good. Shh. Colt. Gosh, he is really anxious this morning. So I'm sitting on the ground, ready to feed Colt pretty soon. He's gonna have a chicken, a whole chicken today. Everybody says hi, Colt. Everybody loves you. Yeah. Hey. Can you guys hear him whining? He's being such a brat. So this chicken is probably like 2.5 pounds, I think. Colt makes it look very small. Shh, I know. Okay, I'm gonna release him now so you guys can watch him eat. Amen. It's still frozen. I didn't have enough time to thaw it, but it's totally fine. He eats stuff frozen all the time because I either forget to take it out ahead of time or I just don't have the time, because he needs about like 2 hours or so of rest after he eats, just so he can digest and just kind of hang out, not play with toys or anything, because the raw bacteria that's in his mouth after he eats, we keep him away from his toys so that it doesn't get on there. He doesn't drink out of his water bowl because it could get in the water. It's really cold for me right now because I'm holding it for him. His command is amen. That's adorable. Thank you. Yeah, I normally pray for him before he eats. I just didn't do that on here because I know that would probably be boring for you guys. It's not that I'm praying for him like to save his soul or anything. I already believe he's going to heaven, but I don't think he needs like his soul saved or anything. It's just kind of like a reminder to pray, just like when I pray before I eat myself. Is it okay if you do not do raw? Of course it's okay if you do not do raw. Raw is extremely hard and a lot of money, so I always understand if people can't do raw. I would suggest that you do a very good quality kibble if you can't do raw, because, you know, it says you have a service dog, I think. Mobility dog helper, yeah. You know, if you have a service dog, I mean, you want to spoil them as much as possible, I'm sure. Just even pets in general, you would want to spoil them. So a good quality kibble, I would suggest. Some people can't do the raw, and I totally understand it, because there are days where I wish I didn't do raw. It's not easy. I'm glad you're doing better. How are you? Thank you. Yes, I am doing better. This morning was tough getting up and around, so obviously I'm a little late today, feeding him a little bit late. But yeah, I'm doing good. I'm tired and my head's been hurting today, but other than that, I'm good. Have you been his sole trainer since puppy? Yes, I have. I have trained him since he was 8 weeks old. Cool, amen. And he, oh, my hand is frozen. And I have not had another trainer. I have had a behavioralist. She went with me to help pick him out. For months, we went and checked out litters together to try and find the perfect puppy. Took us a long time, and once we found Colt, came back and checked him again after he was a little bit older, and then checked him again right before I was willing to get him, and then she has checked him a few times since then. Just like, he had a minor fear period after being startled by a motorcycle impatiently driving like a foot behind us at the store, because they weren't willing to wait for us to walk across the crosswalk. And it scared him for a little while, and I was kind of nervous about it, so I had him checked with her, and she said it was completely normal and he's fine. And by the end of the week, he was back to normal. So it wasn't anything. If I ever encountered something that I needed a trainer for, like I couldn't do it myself, or something that I was doing was not working, then I would definitely contact a trainer, because I suggest that to anybody. The only reason I am his sole trainer is because I actually have training experience, years and years of training experience with military canines, working dogs. So it's not like I just have training experience teaching a family pet or something once. So I had real experience, so I was able to train my dog completely by myself. But again, if I needed to, I would have contacted a trainer, and still will if there is anything that comes up, or something like that. When feeding kibble, is it bad to give a raw treat a few times a week? No, it is not. I personally suggest that you don't mix the kibble and the raw. I've seen people do that, and I'm sure it's fine. It's just that they do digest completely different. So I wouldn't want your dog's stomach to get upset. And also, if your dog is very cold, no, get up. He's trained not to hold it with his paws. Sometimes I have to remind him, but that would transfer bacteria onto his paws if he held it with his paws, so I'm supposed to hold it for him. I let go because my hand is freezing, so I should have kept holding on for him, because he's like, I'm hungry, let me eat it. I'm sorry, did I answer that question? Kibble and raw digest completely separate, and so it could upset your dog's stomach. And if your dog is has a very sensitive stomach on food changes, it might not be good to give them a raw treat a couple times a week, because it might upset their stomach just because of a change. But it all depends on you and your dog. It is a very good thing to do that, to help clean their teeth. Some people do the turkey necks on Thanksgiving and go and buy them a whole fish and stuff like that and give them a treat every now and again, and that is, I think it's perfectly great. It's a good treat for your dog. They love it. Oh gosh, my leg just went numb. My left leg. I do salmon and sweet potato dog food. That sounds very yummy. Colt loves his salmon. Gosh. Being vicious over here, huh, Colt? Good boy. Do you guys have any questions about raw feeding? Because now is a great time. I get a lot of questions all the time, and asking about recipes and what's the best to feed and what his favorite is and all that stuff. And I try to answer them all as best I can. I'm sorry if I haven't answered. I get a lot of messages each day, so it's hard for me to keep up with them all. I am definitely his social media manager, though, so I try my best to answer as best as I can. Let's see, here's my shirt right now. I am just my dog's social media manager. That's all I am. Okay, back to eating. Here, I'll get it for you. Back up. There you go. Let's get an action shot in here. Yummy. This chicken got a little freezer burn, which is completely fine. Dogs, even if the meat is rotten, you can feed it to a dog. I know that sounds gross. I personally don't really have to do that, but if something went bad, I wouldn't be worried about feeding it to him, because dogs have completely different stomach acids than we do. Like, for an example, in the wild, dogs may not completely eat and finish their whole meal after they hunt and kill it, and it will be sitting there for a while in the sun or whatever, and they still eat it even though the meat has gone bad for like a human. Wow, my phone it was at 100% when I started. Now it's at 20%. So if I lose you guys, I'm very sorry. I don't know why that happened. Oh, okay. Jen Court, I just read that the link in my bio is not, I totally forgot to do it. I will have to go back and change that. Man, I can't believe I kept that link up for so long about the apartment fire. Wow. Obviously, I'm slacking as Colt's social media manager. I will have to go and change that. If I still forget, please send me a PM to remind me, because I may forget after this. Was Colt placed with me from an agency, or do you own him? Sorry, just curious. That is a good question. I do own him. I went with a behavioralist to pick him out. Took months to find him. He is mine 100%, and I trained him 100%. Oh, wow. And if raw is supposed to provide all the nutrients your dog needs, why do people add so many supplements? So the supplements are not necessary. They are just an added bonus. I personally, I don't know if you can see, my dog is super shiny. I like adding coconut oil and olive oil for Colt's meals. For his shiny coat, it helps with skin, you know, keeps it nice and soft instead of having, you know, dry periods during winter or anything like that, which he hasn't had problems with, but it just prevents it. And I personally add that stuff because I want to, but he does not need it. He is 100% balanced on just his raw food. At 10% battery now, guys. I might lose you. Have you come across vets scolding you for feeding raw? No, I have not. I've actually had my vet that has been Colt's vet his entire puppyhood ever since I got him. He has been feeding raw since then. We've brought other dogs there as well that were raw feeding, and they actually give us good tips and know how to handle dogs that do raw feeding, all the checkups and everything. He gets a 6 months checkup instead of once a year, and he gets all the tests done just to make sure he is perfectly fine. With raw feeding, there is a chance of parasites, but there are precautions taken with it. Certain meats have more parasites in them when they're raw, and since we're feeding raw and not cooking it, even though it's classified for human consumption, they think that you're going to cook it. So as it being raw, you take it and you freeze it for a certain amount of time depending on what meat it is, and it kills the parasites in a deep freezer. So it's not common for the parasites to be an issue if you do it right, but we still check because he's a service dog, and just because I love him in general, I wouldn't want him to have any issues or anything, so we get him checked to make sure that everything's fine. I'm so happy you seem better. I love following you too here on IG. Thank you so much. That is very sweet of you. What do you think about yogurt? I've heard many different things. I personally think that adding plain yogurt is fine every once in a while. Obviously, it shouldn't be a staple in their diet. It's not necessary, but it can help a lot, for sure. Do you find less shredding since going raw? I'm not sure what you mean about shredding. If you're talking about like destroying toys or something, Colt actually never had a problem with that. Maybe when he was a puppy at one phase, but he's never really had a problem with that. We get him stuffed animals and we call him his babies, you know, and he carries them around and we're like, is that your baby? And he takes good care of them. He doesn't chew them up. So he is like an aggressive chomper and stuff with balls. And so I have to have really durable toys for him when I'm throwing a ball for him, because he really loves to just chomp, chomp, chomp on it while he's holding it. But other than that, he is very gentle with his toys. Why did you originally decide to go raw? I went raw with Colt really early on, when he was still a puppy. I did do half raw and half freeze-dried or dehydrated for a while, and that was just because I had a very hard time with my health doing full raw. But now I have multiple people that have helped me and made it possible for me to continue to do full raw instead of a half and half. But when I end up going to the hospital or something like that, he does go back to dehydrated or freeze-dried depending on what brand we pick up. And he's never really had a sensitive stomach, so it never really upsets him when we change like that. But he can't do raw when he's in the hospital with me, and I also don't normally have people do raw for him when they're watching him for me if he can't be in the hospital with me, because it's a lot of work, and I understand that it's hard. My friend JC, who does watch him a lot when there's major medical stuff going on, just because Garrett works, you know, 60, 70 hours a week to provide for us, because of my illness and everything, he is unable to watch him. So there's a lot of people that will help watch him, but JC is one that loves doing raw. She does raw for her dog as well. So when she watches him, she continues with the raw. But if there was, you know, anytime someone watches him that doesn't know really how to do raw, or it would be too hard on them. Oh my gosh, Colt. He is strong. Then I just, you know, go and get a good brand freeze-dried or dehydrated food, and he's never had a problem switching over to that real quick. Was Colt your first dog to feed raw? No, he was not. We have fed raw in my family and as German Shepherd dog breeders for years. So, what benefits has Colt had since he went raw? Well, he has been raw most of his life. Like I said, there was a point where he was half raw, half freeze-dried or dehydrated food. Colt, eat your food. But he has teeth that are pretty much pearly white that I don't have to brush because he naturally brushes them. I have brushed them before, but it's just my personal preference. Almost no ear cleaning has to be done. I still do it just to make sure, but his ears are pretty much naturally clean. He has no dry skin, no skin allergies, no lumps and bumps or anything from allergies. He has a very shiny and silky coat. His poop smells like just amazing. Even when we were doing freeze-dried and dehydrated, his poop still stunk a lot more than it does now on full raw. Here, look, clean up. And so with the full raw, his poop does not stink compared to normal poop. And I've smelled kibble dog poop, and I'm like, wow, I cannot even believe how much better his smells. It's also pretty much hard like rocks, where if you did step on it after he went to the bathroom, you wouldn't get it squished into your shoes. It also turns to a white powder after a couple of days and goes back into the ground. It does not sit on the ground and clutter your backyard. There's no bombs that you have to watch out for, because it just goes back into the ground. He doesn't really have any digestive problem. He never really did in the beginning, in the first place, but he doesn't really have any digestive issues. His poop is probably about the quarter the size it would be on his freeze-dried and dehydrated food. I've seen kibble dogs smaller than him make poops 4 times the size of his. He also poops less frequently. He poops probably... Colt, come here. He poops probably like twice a day, sometimes 3 times a day. It also just depends on when... Colt, here. It also really just depends on how often you feed your dog raw. There's days that he goes fasting where he doesn't eat, and then there's days, and that's just his choice. If he doesn't want to eat, I don't make him eat. If he wants to eat more, like if he's still hungry, I'll be like, okay, here you go, have another whatever. So it all depends on what he wants. But he normally eats twice a day. And then after he eats, he has a settled period where he waits. Bacteria in his mouth and everything dissipates. And he doesn't play with his toys or drink out of his water bowl or anything. And so it keeps everything sanitary, which a lot of people tell me, you know, that's unhealthy to feed your dog raw. It's unhealthy to... what does that mean? I'm not sure what that means. Someone requested to be in my live video. I'm really not sure what that means. I have no idea. Oh gosh, I'm so sorry. I lose track of what I'm saying sometimes. I don't know. Basically, I just feed him twice a day, and he has a settle point after. But a lot of people will feed raw, and some people will comment to them saying that it's dangerous, the bacteria and all that stuff, which dogs have different stomach acid than we do, that breaks down differently, so it doesn't harm the dog, and the bacterias are killed that wouldn't be in our stomach. And yeah, it's safe for dogs if you do it completely the right way. Like there's a chance of the bacteria and stuff spreading, so you take precautions, and we take precautions. So if you don't do raw feeding right, then yeah, there could be dangers. Just with anything, there could be dangers. So I hope that helps you guys. I think my phone's about to die, but I'm very grateful for you guys asking your questions and joining us for this live. I'm now going to go inside and rest a little bit because we have to do something later today, and Colt will just hang out until he's ready to go work. Huh? You ready to work? He's a good boy. Thank you guys. You have a great day.